right, guys. So it is week 2. So we are going to tackle our Unit 14 vocabulary. Again, I know it's not ideal to do it apart from one another, but most of you guys did a really nice job submitting your work via Remind or via Google Classroom. And I have a couple more people that need to take that online quiz. I'll have one similar set up for you today for Unit 14. But let's go ahead and we'll take a look at these words. All right, our first word is beatific, okay? Blissful, rendering or making blessed, rapturous, ecstatic. During the award ceremony, the gold medal winner had a positively beatific expression on her face. So very similar to this woman here, very beatific expression there. All right, behemoth. All right, it's a noun. It's a creature of enormous size, power, or appearance. You can see the synonyms include mammoth, whale, elephant, colossus. The Loch Ness monster is a famous behemoth. There's actual, creatures obviously of this size fit that category. There's biblical allusions to this. I know we've had a lot of biblical allusions in a lot of our studies this year, British literature. It's the evidence, I guess, in the Christian Bible of, some kind of dinosaur or large creature, the behemoth. Okay. A blandishment is anything designed to flatter or to coax somebody. Sweet talk is another way of looking at that. Apple polishing. The king was often influenced by subtle blandishments. So people who were kiss up, so they would, sweet talk him. Like praise and flattery. You can see the cartoon on the left-hand side, the woman going into the IRS saying, oh, you're so handsome. She's hoping to maybe get a break from something that she owes them by doing that. All right, cacophonous. It's an adjective. It's anything that's harsh sounding, raucous, discordant, or dissonant. It's the opposite of something that's harmonious or melodious. I have that sentence at the bottom. The scene opened with cacophonous laughter coming from the 3 witches gathered around a steaming cauldron. And that is actually the opening of Macbeth, which I'm not sure how we're going to get to this year, but we might. I will creatively figure out a way to do that. Actually, that might be fun. All right, so you can see, some of these images that help you figure out that word. All right, chicanery is our next word. Chicanery is trickery or deceptive practices or tactics, double dealing. The sentence at the bottom reads, the accountant used legal chicanery to cover up the company's shaky financial position. So they were using deceit to do that. People who do card tricks are known for their chicanery. You can see on the left-hand side the cartoon about, falling for someone's chicanery at a used car lot where, there are generalizations made about, whether or not you're getting the full story about the car. All right, to consign. To consign something is to give order to another's care, to charge or control, to entrust somebody to set it apart for separate use. The sentence at the bottom reads, the ship's captain consigned many duties to her trusted first mate. You may have heard of consignment shops. So if a person wants to consign their clothing, they will give it over to the store and the store will try to sell it for them and then give them a percentage of that sale. Sometimes I joke in class that I have some Tory Burch flats or things like that I've bought at a consignment shop. So yes, they are used, but I like them. All right, a coup. Okay. A coup is a highly successful stroke, masterstroke, tour de force, act, plan, or stratagem, a sudden takeover of power or leadership. The sentence at the bottom reads, the surprise coup by high-ranking military officers toppled the weak government in a matter of hours. You probably have heard of a military coup or something like that. Certainly, when you read Julius Caesar, there was a coup to overthrow his power. It literally means in French, a blow against the state. Oh, look, that's the example I have for you. So you can see that image at the bottom of Caesar getting killed. When I did that class, that CP English 2 class, we were doing Caesar, and I liked teaching that. All right, a euphemism. I like this word. It's pretty common. A mild or inoffensive expression used in place of a harsh or unpleasant one. It's a substitute. So instead of saying that to die, a common euphemism might be to say to pass away or to go to the other side. If you remember our study of Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night, that good night was a euphemism for death. And so that's a place where we've seen it in the literature this year. The sign at the top, dog nuisance must be picked up and disposed of in the receptacles provided. They mean poop. At the bottom, I do not fail. I succeed in finding out what does not work. So it's a nicer way of saying something harsh. The dog on the right says, I'm not a mutt. That's so dated. I'm a hybrid. Again, it's a euphemism. It's a nicer way of saying something that is otherwise harsh or doesn't sound good. All right, febrile as an adjective means feverish, pertaining to or marked by fever, frenetic. Journalists and reporters alike are writing with febrile intensity at this time, trying to get new information out to the public about the stuff going on around us. Okay, I think feverish, so hence the temperature and the girl having a fever. All right, to gainsay something. To gainsay is to deny, contradict, or controvert something, to dispute it or oppose it. The sentence at the bottom reads, some wish to gainsay the conclusions of the U.S. Supreme Court in the matter of the 2000 presidential election. That's probably too old for y'all to remember, but if I remember correctly, that is the election where Florida had these ballots where the mark wasn't in the exact spot, and so whether or not Florida was for Bush or Gore was debated, and a lot of people weren't happy with that outcome. All right. To gainsay, this visual says you cannot seem to agree on things. You simply dispute and contradict everything. In other words, you gainsay. That's a good way of understanding it. All right. Imminent. If something is imminent, it is about to happen or threatening. It's impending. It's looming. At the bottom, an imminent hurricane forced the islanders back to the mainland. All right. There is an imminent comet coming to the earth in this artistic rendering. All right. Something is innate. All right, as something is innate, it is natural, inborn, inherent, or built in. The sentence at the bottom reads, musical excellence often comes from innate ability. It's intrinsic, it's internal. You were kind of born with it if it's innate. There's a baby. That's cute. All right, to loathe, or if something is loathe, excuse me, it's not a verb, it's an adjective. If someone is loath, they are unwilling or reluctant or disinclined to do something. So my hardworking grandfather was loath to retire. He was averse to it. Okay, he was the opposite of being willing or eager or inclined. This is a line actually from Macbeth, which you haven't read yet, but I want to read with you. So the cat loves fish, but she's loath to wet her feet. So that's quite the dilemma if you're the cat, because you'll never get the fish if you don't wet your feet. It's a line Lady Macbeth is going to use on Macbeth when she talks about his plan to want to overthrow the king. To loathe as a verb is something else, and I had mixed that up right from the start of this. So Kathy is loath to admit her mistakes. That's the adjective form. Jack loathes spiders is the verb form. So we're working with the adjective form this unit. All right, manifest. Goodness, look at all those parts of speech up at the top. Adjective, verb, noun. Goodness. All right. So as an adjective, something is manifested as clear or evident to the eyes or mind. So the sentence that goes with that is the first one at the bottom. It is manifest to so many 19th century Americans that the nation was destined to extend to the Pacific Ocean. As a verb, to manifest something is to show it clearly, to exhibit it, to evince it. That's a word we had, I think, in Unit 1. So the sentence that goes with the verb, when the man began to manifest signs of hearing loss, he went to a specialist. As a noun, what is a manifest? All right, a list of cargo and or passengers on a plane or a boat or something like that. So there's a show called Manifest in which there's a list of people that were on the boat or the plane, and they, they're looking for all those people after a crash. Some of the other teachers were watching it. I haven't watched it. Okay, so the manifest is on the left, the flight manifest. How does ADHD manifest in adults? That's the verb form. All right, the minutia. I like the word minutia. The minutia are the small or trivial details, the trifling matters, the picayune ones, to kind of go back to a previous word we had. Notice that the synonyms are like trivia. So the sentence reads, because the researcher was too concerned with the minutia, she was unlikely to make an original discovery. She got too caught up in the small details. That's minutia, okay? Think of minute details, tiny, minuscule, minimize, all those small things. All right. In trivia, we know our details are pieces of info of little importance or value, but that's on a trivia night, you know all this random information. All right. A moratorium. A moratorium is a suspension of activity, an official waiting period, an authorized period of delay. They take a break. It's a postponement. Okay. The conference was held to try to negotiate a moratorium on arms sales to both sides of the conflict. So that's selling weapons. So they wanted to have a break in that, a suspension of activity. In 2000, Illinois declared a moratorium on executions after 13 death row inmates were exonerated. So they put a stop in 2002 to all executions because of so many people were proven innocent. So moratorium was used and shown in that cartoon up there as well. All right, nostrum. What is a nostrum? It is an alleged cure-all, a remedy or scheme of questionable effectiveness. The sentence reads, the Federal Food and Drug Administration was created in part to keep unsavory characters from peddling nostrums to the public. People who think it's like a cure-all, a panacea, an elixir, something that will solve all your problems. Some people will say chicken soup is a cure-all. Or if you've seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the family thinks Windex will solve all your problems. If you just spray Windex on it, it'll fix it. All right, a pariah. A pariah is one who is rejected by a social group or an organization, an outcast. Sentence of the below reads, in most of the world today, those who are suffering from the disease of leprosy are no longer treated as pariahs. They used to be. Like the lepers would be kept out because it was this contagious skin condition. This picture illustrates the pariah was always left out of the groups at school, which is sad. All right, and lastly, a visionary, or visionary as an adjective. So as an adjective, visionary means not practical, lacking in realism, having the nature or fantasy of a dream, like a vision. Okay. I'll read the first sentence bulleted at the bottom. It says, ideas that were once considered visionary often become widely accepted over time. So the ideas are described as visionary. So adjective modifying the noun. As a noun, a visionary is somebody who's given to far-fetched ideas, or a dreamer, or some kind of seer, characterized by vision or foresight, like they see things ahead of time. If you look at the second sentence, I'm using it as a noun there. It says the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was a visionary whose dreams inspired the American Civil Rights Movement. Okay, big ideas. Oh, I lied. There's one more. Wizened. It's an adjective. Something is wizened, it is dry, shrunken, and wrinkled. Okay, the wizened old woman walked with the aid of a cane. Ooh, wizened. Okay, so that is Unit 14 vocabulary. I want you to make sure you write your memory devices. Don't send them to me via Remind just quite yet. I got to figure out another way to kind of manage that. So many texts to my phone. There's got to be a better way. But some people did the really nice job of popping them in a Google Doc and then attaching the Google Doc to the week one posting on Google Classroom. That is super helpful if you're able to do that. Also, as a note for this week, we do not have a vocabulary story that's due for us. We will instead focus on a piece of literature this week, and I'll be sending a video with some instruction for The Wife of Bath's Tale, which is also in our textbook. And it's just so good. I just can't skip it. It's just my favorite. And you guys have questions that are posted online for that as well. Okay, until next time.